Alright, there we go.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Did Raw Suck This Week, the podcast. I am always, as your host, Dale Curtis, and I'm joined today by a very special guest.
Hey there, Clark V. Tatum here. Whoa, I'm gonna back away from the mic there. Joining a special guest since I was able to watch Raw this time.
Yeah, he actually managed to get out of work to watch Raw with us.
It was a surprise.
But the first thing I want to talk about has actually very little to do with Raw. I kind of wanted to rant about Total Divas a little before we got into the show. I have a very serious problem with how they've handled it. I mean, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing overall, and it gets people who wouldn't otherwise be interested in the brand. But the biggest problem with it is that I watch it and you see the top star John Cena looking like a total douche, and Natalya, one of the big face divas, just looking like an utter cunt.
Right.
And it just strikes me as odd to want to bring in this fan base, but then have them come into Raw with a messed up perception of what these characters are. You know, they think John Cena is this non-committal dick that they've written him to be in the show, when he's their top babyface and you're supposed to cheer him. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, that's the question, though. I kind of have to wonder every once in a while, though. Is what are the written parts and what are not? And the written parts, why are they that way in the first place? Are they trying to fight off the wrestling perspective? Because it seems like
maybe
almost not even acknowledging the wrestling to a certain extent.
But then at the same time, they try and work the storylines that are happening in the ring into the Total Divas storylines.
And then half the time they just kind of throw them out completely, and you acknowledge that wrestling's not real.
And at the same time, they're showing people talking about their matches backstage and being friends when they shouldn't be, and it just doesn't make sense what they choose to keep kayfabe and what they choose to try and work into a storyline. It's very confusing, but from what I understand, not a lot of people watch both shows, oddly enough.
Right, I've heard that it has that weird divided demographic.
So yeah, it's not a problem they have. Alright, well, with that out of the way, we can start talking about Raw. And,
joy.
And the first thing, obviously, that happened was the opening segment. We got John Cena came out, which usually I would bitch, but it is a welcome change from what you're used to seeing, which is the Authority coming out and then Seth Rollins and blah, blah, blah. We've all been there.
Become a clusterfuck. I'm like, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great segment. It was kind of boring, to be honest.
Well, it was, I don't know if boring's the word. It was basic.
I don't think anything really happened. Again, it's one of those that I feel like, for the most part, it
was Cena kind of went, it was Cena kind of going, oh, I'm going to kick your ass, and then Russo was like, oh, I'm going to kick your ass, and the thing that struck me the most is a thing that actually happens a lot, and I think they're doing it on purpose now. Lana will come out and say something about the USA being stupid,
right,
and the crowd will prove her wrong by chanting USA at her.
Yeah, that's helpful. Let's be honest for a second here. There is a good amount of wrestling fans. I don't know if they're the ones that listen here, but there is a good amount of wrestling fans who are...
Let's be honest, nobody's listening here.
Yeah. But there are a good amount of wrestling fans who are, the patriotic country people. You've seen TNA. They cater to them a lot with the country stars and having their wrestlers try to be country stars and Jeff Jarrett. But it's kind of the thing, though. Like, I feel like WWE and a lot of other places don't really want to lean towards that, because I think they are international minds in general. It's the World Wrestling Federation, for one. And I just think they do it because the wrestling fans in America, and I'm not sure how the wrestling fans are in other parts of the world if they have this kind of issue. I don't think so. But the wrestling fans in America are so like, America, and goddamn anyone who's from Russia or anything. Even if they have Rusev.
Since when have we been enemies with Russia, I guess, was my major question going into the Rusev thing.
Well, that's kind of the thing, though. It's that Rusev, for the first, few months of being a heel, did nothing. He just came out, oh yes, Russia, and then they say, oh, America is dumb or something like that. I'm like, America, take some criticism. Seriously, you can't be doing this.
We are kind of dumb, everybody.
We go to other countries and say you're dumb, and they're supposed to deal with it, apparently. So I find it funny when you kind of start hearing murmuring in other countries, like when they go to Canada or something, and like you kind of start when you like say saw Jim Duggan comes out or something, you start hearing USA chants, and it's just because that's what wrestling fans do, I guess, when saw Jim Duggan or someone comes out.
Jim Duggan, the world's most patriotic retard.
Oh, I like Jim Duggan.
All right, well then the first match we got was it was Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper.
It was alright. It was kind of short.
It was short, but I was impressed by it in that, and I'm going to explain something here, because what this match did is it didn't necessarily make both men look like the strongest competitors. What it did was made both men look tough, which is much more important in the scope of professional wrestling. Steve Austin was a strong competitor, yes, but his selling point was his toughness. If the crowd believes you are tough, you will get over with the crowd.
Well, that's the difference, because like Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose are way different sizes, and that's a thing in wrestling that small guys have to face big guys, and it's always been a question. Oh, well, you just can't believe they'll win, even though when you look at something like MMA or whatever, not that there's weight class differences, but generally the size. It does matter, but smaller people can beat bigger people. It's if you sell the toughness or you sell how smart they are, if you sell generally that they can take a beating and keep coming back. Shawn Michaels is a perfect example. Almost every time he faced a big guy, it was always kind of the David and Goliath story, and he was always able to convince you, even versus Undertaker, Big Show, whoever, that he was able to beat them at the end of the day, and that's very important, and that's why a lot of little guys either fail, or that's why WWE thinks little guys like Daniel Bryan and so on fail.
Well, yeah, and that's a problem I see, and I'll cite Rey Mysterio, because here you watch and it looks and it's believable. I buy that Dean Ambrose might actually be able to beat Luke Harper. Whenever I watched Rey Mysterio wrestle against a guy bigger than him, I never bought it.
Right.
I never, I mean, yeah, he's doing cool flippy stuff, and it's real dazzling, and he's got a lot of personality, and I love Rey Mysterio, but I never got the sense that, oh yeah, I think he could actually beat this guy.
Well,
With Dean Ambrose, you watch him and he does the crazy shtick and he's got the tough guy stuff, and they put him in a lot of positions to look very tough, and so you buy it. You say, yeah, he could beat Luke Harper.
Well, with Rey Mysterio, I think there's an extreme level there, because he is literally one of the smallest
He is tiny.
guys.
He's shorter than I am.
And the thing is, it's not even so much like Kurt Angle. Okay, they have good matches. I can believe maybe he could beat Kurt Angle when they wrestled. But when they put him against people like Big Show, I'm like, no, Big Show could like hold him up all match and just throw him out of the ring like 15 times without even thinking about it. I wouldn't believe he could beat Big Show unless he could really think it out. Which I'm not saying Rey Mysterio's dumb, but they never really sold him as the smart technical wrestler.
Rey Mysterio was never worried about being convincing, and you can see that in his stupid finisher.
Right.
The 619, which doesn't look like it would ever hurt anybody.
The 619, like, I remember seeing, like, you look at back in WCW and ECW, he wouldn't do exactly the 619, but it would be kind of a similar situation, but it'd always be into a hurricanrana.
Right,
or some
it
sort
was
of
never
dive or
never
that.
this lame ass kick that no one actually believes makes any impact.
Right.
But we're getting off on a tangent. The point
Yeah.
is that Dean Ambrose really sold his toughness here, and he made me believe that he could beat just about anybody.
Right.
And so it's going to be real interesting. And we later in the night they set up Wade Barrett and Dean Ambrose, and we'll talk about that a bit. But I will just say that after this match, I'm actually really excited for that. After a commercial we got, and I wouldn't talk about this segment, but something happened in it that made me laugh. We got Triple H standing backstage, and then Kane and Big Show started bickering.
Oh, yeah.
And it was stupid and boring, but Big Show did this thing where he tried to reference May 19th, but he said May 13th. And I'm like, Big Show, they repeated it so many fucking times.
Right. I don't know how you can mess that up.
I can't clean May 19th out of my goddamn head. How do you screw that up?
Well, and how they ended all that shit when they did that repetitively. I'm surprised anyone forgot it. Not because it was infamous or anything. It was stupid. It was dumb. It was stupid. They shouldn't have done it. And it's like May 19th. May 19th.
And it was really just all an ad for See No Evil.
Right. Oh God.
And it kind of tied into Katie Vick, I guess.
Oh,
Or
can we
was
not talk
supposed
about
to.
Katie Vick?
They keep bringing that up. They pretend to be ashamed of it, but I don't think they are.
I think they love that. I really do.
There's one thing I want to talk about, because next what we got was a a very short, truncated, creepy Bray Wyatt promo.
Ooh, there was a lot of them, and I
Yeah,
loved
they
them.
did, instead of doing one longer one like they usually do, they broke it up into 3 short ones here. And I mean, I still like it. I don't like it as much.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think it definitely good because right now the problem is I've been saying with Bray Wyatt, they need an actual story with him, not just a feud. They need a goal in mind, and the problem is when they don't have a goal in mind, and when he goes to do his promos, it's awesome. His charisma is up there, and he can talk. But the problem is you can see it's kind of aimless because they don't give him something to do, and these short vignettes actually kind of make that less noticeable.
He's not really saying much. Is part of the thing, and I love it and hate it at the same time because it's kind of hard to write for that character.
Right.
But it's a very cryptic sort of coded speech, and it's very strange, but I like it, but I don't know how far they can carry it, I guess is my point.
My
and
question
I think stretching it into 3 segment, it might be just a little much, that's all.
Right. Well, my question is, are they bringing someone new in for him? Because it kind of like seems like they're teasing it, but then they never really address it or something.
Yeah,
He keeps talking about something.
I haven't the faintest clue what they're doing with him. I'm just kind of watching, like everyone else, really.
See, what I want to see, I think would be great for Bray Wyatt. It's eventually down the line. I'm not sure how soon. I'm not going to be the one to guess. But they should give him the world title, but don't give him a specific feud like they do with most people. Make him like this almost this king on top of everything, and he kind of has to, everybody kind of just wants to dethrone him. It's no one specific or anything, but just kind of make him this taunting figure at the top that everybody wants to be.
Like I said, he's we got a new Undertaker on our hands if they book him properly. The next thing we got the Dust Brothers backstage.
I actually really like
Polka Dust
later on. I thought everything leading up to it was a bit heavy-handed. Like when they get the Dusty Rhodes comes in, it's about family. I'm like, I was suspecting him to do a Marlon Brando impression. A man without his family is not a man, or something like that.
I mean, it was kind of hokey, but I liked it. I feel like Dusty did a really good job here, and he shows that he hasn't, unlike Ric Flair later, shows that he hasn't lost the gift of gab, which I think is really a cool thing to see.
Right, but okay, so there's that beginning segment which was really short, and then they go like straight into the match, I believe, or whatever, which was all right. It wasn't important. The match itself wasn't. That was right. It was right after that, right?
Yeah, them versus New Day, they've been doing, which is really just an excuse to give New Day a win and tease tension between the Dust Brothers.
Right. That match, unimportant, wasn't very impressive. I'm like, okay, it wasn't hard to watch or anything. But what I really loved about the whole setup thing is afterwards, that Stardust promo that they show, which was actually, at first it seemed like he was going to go on another one of those random tangents that made no sense whatsoever. But he actually got pretty fierce. I was actually very surprised, and he actually made it seem like he's going insane. He's actually convincing me a lot.
I said it in my article. He made me believe that Cody Rhodes is dead,
right,
and that this new guy Stardust has taken his place. What that means, God knows, but he's made me believe it, and that's the first step to making something interesting. Then we got a backstage segment.
Just one note back. I just want to say I find it hilarious that this Stardust thing is piggybacking off the Goldust thing, but he's kind of like bringing it farther. It's almost like it's more.
Yeah, it's a much crazier, much more out there gimmick than the Goldust one was.
Right, the Goldust wasn't even anything specific, if I remember right. It was just kind of like an actor gimmick. Kind of Hollywood.
At first he was kind of a crazed ex-actor, and then they very quickly just turned him gay.
Yeah. But yeah, he's taking that farther, which I find is almost hilarious because it was supposed to be just a piggyback, and then they're bringing it into his own character, which I hope pushes him pretty far.
And then we got a backstage segment with Byron Saxton and Roman Reigns. And here they gave Roman Reigns a more long-form promo, and it was very clear that that's not going to be a thing you should do.
Right.
They really need to stick to the action movie one-liners and shit with him, because he cannot cut a long form promo. He's terrible.
That's the thing, though. That's the kind of the worry. I think the fans weren't complete. It wasn't like with the whole Royal Rumble debacle. I don't think it was completely unjustified against Roman Reigns. I think a lot of it was hate that it was so predictable. But I think to a point, Roman Reigns is going up too early. He has a great look. He's a very talented wrestler, but he's not the guy to carry a company right now. It's too early for him.
I'm gonna say what I've been saying. And people were being too impatient. I don't think the plan was ever to have Roman Reigns be the guy they're pushing to the moon. The original plan, I don't know what the hell they're doing now, but what I think the original plan was for Roman Reigns to beat Brock and then immediately have Seth Rollins cash in his Money in the Bank and run with the title. I think Seth Rollins is the guy they want to put the belt on and to put the company on. And I think people were just, I don't know, they were just being too short-sighted and impatient to see that. I think they're still going to do it. I honestly think that's going to be.
Do you think they'll have him beat with Daniel Bryan?
I think it'll be Daniel Bryan instead of Roman Reigns in that scenario. I think that'll be the only difference here, and that'll get him a lot more heat. So actually, I think it's a better deal.
Right.
And like I said, as far as the Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns stuff, I feel like they're back on the right track now, and I'll talk about that more at the end because they take up a good chunk of the show, but. I feel like they're back on track with that. And
right, it's not. It doesn't seem like such a shoehorn mess or anything like that.
And then we had you got the Roman Reigns versus Kane match, which was much better than I expected, given all the mean things I've said about Kane and the fact that Roman Reigns is green as grass. They actually managed to string together a really good two big man match that made them both look strong.
Yeah, it was actually a surprise because I'm like Kane. I think Kane is still in some good shape. He's not nearly the guy he was when they first brought in or anything, but I think he still has the ability to move, which is more than I can say about Big Show.
Well, and here's my biggest problem with this match in particular: is the ending is horrible. They're trying to put Roman Reigns over as a big threat. They're big, baby face, and Kane's. I love Kane, but he's old and he's on his way out. And they have to have Roman Reigns spear Kane on the outside and roll into the ring and win by countout.
Yeah,
that's absolutely not the way to get your new big baby face over.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
I don't get count out endings unless it draws to something. Like, just have him win. It's not like Kane is going to be this big star or anything. No offense to Kane. I love Kane to an extent. I think the wrestler, is very much deserving of any credit he gets, but he's not going to be like a world champion anytime soon. He's not going to be a big guy you push to the moon. Why is it that we have to have this half-assed end to the match? Why do we have to have it where it's kind of questionable?
Yeah, I don't understand where we're at the point where we need to protect Kane at all.
Right.
Kane's had a career. He's a legend. If you beat him, it's a big push, regardless of how many people have beat him before. You don't need to protect him. Right. It's not like he's got much of a career going forward. Just let fucking Roman Reigns beat him. I don't see why that's so hard. And that brings us to...
Wait, hold up. I just want to point out, because it'll be important later, the Daniel Bryan yes thing, the distraction.
Oh, yeah. This was dumb, but it worked later. They had... During the match, they had Daniel Bryan chanting yes with the fans and shit and distracting Roman Reigns, which is stupid, but like I said, later in the show I'll talk about it and it'll make sense. And that brings us to a segment that I despised and made me angry enough that I cut out a chunk of time here in the podcast that I'm just going to sit here and rant about this. The WWE writing team sucks at writing for the Divas. The segment I'm talking about, the Bella Twins snuck into Paige's locker room and stole her clothes. And they did this, because apparently the WWE writers think that the Divas behave and talk as if they were still in middle school.
Right.
And they did it to get Paige running around in Natal to excite all the 13-year-old boys who are tuning in.
God damn it. I hated that shit.
They took it, they bent it around to make it kind of, because she took... What she ends up doing, if you didn't watch, is stealing a sparkly pink outfit from one of the Rosebuds, and she comes out and she doesn't let it embarrass her. I guess is the whole payoff. It's mildly interesting if you were booking 13-year-olds.
Well, I'm
You're
we shouldn't
not.
have 13-year-olds running around naked or anything. That would
No,
be
that
not
would
good.
be gross.
That
That's
would be
not my
gross.
point. Please don't take that out of context. What I'm saying is that this whole angle where they're trying to embarrass her and it's not working. That'd be
Right.
great if you were writing for a 13-year-old.
It was
You're
like, oh
not.
yeah, I'm learning to accept myself.
You're writing for grown-ass women who are supposed to be competing for the same level of prize and career adulation as the men you're writing for. And
Right.
you treat it like you're writing for men, and then you're writing for 13-year-old girls. And I don't know if Stephanie's in charge. If Stephanie's in charge, shame on her. But I have a feeling it's a bunch of men who haven't spoken to a female since they were in high school.
Right.
And it just drives me nuts. Because there's a lot of talented divas in the division right now,
Yeah.
and they're being written for shit.
Even though most of them are in NXT.
Because these writers haven't the faintest fucking clue how to write for an adult
but, no,
female.
it's kind of embarrassing.
And it's fucking embarrassing. I absolutely did not want this to be the night any of my female friends tuned in to check out wrestling.
Right.
I would have been mortified because
And,
this
like,
is terrible.
That ending was
I would
bullshit.
expect this kind of shit on Saved by the Bell.
Right. Well, that ending was bullshit reasoning too for basically what they wanted to do was give the fans blue balls. And at the end, she's like, "Oh, I don't care what I'm wearing or whatever." And I'm like, that didn't even do anything. Maybe if they had like have a ridiculous costume match would have been stupid, but at least then it would have served the point. But they're just.
Yeah,
Unless
it
they're
was-
going to do a big stupid, and it will be stupid, pay off the pay-per-view about something she wears,
Oh.
it
It'll be stupid.
will be stupid.
But I guess it all comes down to it's better than farting Natalia.
Oh God. Oh God. That's a whole other podcast in
That's
itself.
we could do a whole hour on that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Next we got Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, and I wanted to bring this up
Ooh.
because they had a fun verbal interchange.
Yeah, it
If
wasn't
that's not the word I'm looking for. Exchange, I
bad.
guess.
Exchange.
Um,
Interchange. That's
But
something else.
they had a verbal back and forth, and it was good, except Dolph Ziggler made a joke about Seth Rollins having a bad Valentine's Day.
I don't know. I felt that was kind of funny. I'm like,
It's funny, but do we really need to bring that stuff in front of the camera right now?
see, there's a part of me that believes he wasn't thinking that. Like he was like, "Oh shit."
Well,
I
yeah,
was like,
because you can
Valentine's
kind of
Day.
see him totally change the subject as soon as he says it to make
Right.
it very clearly not what he was talking about.
I think honestly, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna say about something about Valentine's Day because that was recent.
Oh
Now that-
shit, we all saw his penis.
Yeah, maybe that's what popped into his head, like penis, and then
But no, it was well done by both men, and the match it was as good as you'd expect. What I really wanted to point out about the match is that these are two guys who are used to wrestling a faster, I don't want to call it an ROH style, but I called it an ROH style in my article, so I'll call it that here.
Yeah,
But they're used to wrestling a faster, crazier style, and they showed everybody that they can slow down.
Right.
And that they can make things mean something. And I said this in my column too. Every indie jackass who thinks doing a bunch of flippy shit is going to get them a job should watch this match. This is how you take all that and boil it down into a WWE style and make it mean something. Make your character stand out, make the storyline of the match pop, and make the match actually mean something outside of, oh, look, here's a bunch of cool fucking spots.
Well, with that said, we're not saying that all indie wrestlers are flip monkeys.
No,
or
that's not what I
anything.
mean, but I'm not going to put a disclaimer on everything I say either.
Right.
so
Well, I just want because someone's going, "Oh, what are you talking about? Indie wrestling is the best, guys."
Indie tough guy.
The one person who listens to us. That's what they're going to say. You guys suck.
Just as long as it's not the Black Stallion. Chad, if you're out there, we love you.
Yes.
Don't beat us up.
Yeah.
The next thing we got, Triple H came out to the ring, and they recapped the whole Sting saga.
Oh, can we not?
Yeah, I'm on your side. I am so bored by this. Maybe it's because I actually watched WCW and I saw Sting stuff, and this is really just everything he ever did, minus
Yeah.
the rappelling down from the ceiling.
It really is. At this point, it's just them. Well, we never had a Sting stuff. I'm just going to call it that now. Sting stuff. We've never had Sting stuff, so...
Let's just do some Sting stuff.
It seems like that's what WWE does when they bring in someone from a different company.
We've never gotten to do that. Let's do that. It's fun.
Right,
It's fun.
or whatever. But and I'm not. It's not so much the WCW stuff because I'm like, okay, fine. It's a cheap pop. It's whatever they want to do the Sting stuff, but it's the TNA stuff that got me to get sick of Sting, because maybe a lot of the WWE fans don't remember or didn't watch TNA or whatever. I know there was some out there that did, but Sting, he came into TNA and it was such a fucking mess. They didn't know what to do with him. He didn't care. No one really cared.
No, it was TNA. It's TNA. Who gives a shit?
He was the goddamn Joker. He was the goddamn Joker, and I don't get why they had to do that. Okay, fine. They got away with the Crow.
It worked with the Crow.
They got away with the Crow. I'll give you that one, but not the fucking Joker. Okay, hold up. The Crow didn't make that as much money. Fucking The Dark Knight.
Everyone knows the Joker.
$1 billion in the box office. What the fuck?
We're getting off track a little bit though. The segment itself, Triple H did a little bit of a promo, and then Flair came out. And at first he's kind of rambling. He's like, "I just wanted to say I love you, and that I respect you."
I was half making him say, just kiss me, Ric Flair, or whatever. No, but. It was kind of rambling. I remember saying that
he got his shit together, and his basic message was don't take Sting lightly. And of course Triple H is, what, you fucking think I'm taking Sting lightly? I'm Triple H and he's Sting. I know who Sting is.
Right.
And Ric Flair is
They're
like,
both rambling, to be honest.
And then there was this. It wasn't a great segment, but at the end, I liked the end a lot. It made it pop because what happened was Ric Flair said something about Triple H sitting on his ass like he did on Monday.
Right.
And Triple H actually reached out and shoved Ric Flair.
Ric Flair can still take a bump.
Ric Flair can still take a bump, first of all. And that just kind of, it was a good little move that went to show how much Sting is getting to the Triple H character.
Right.
And how much the mind games are actually working. I think it helped put the whole thing over. Like I said, not a fan of the segment as a whole, but I think the ending saved it.
I'm not a fan of the whole fucking angle. I think...
No, I don't like the angle overall.
I don't want a match. If it was something like Sting backs a guy, Triple H backs a guy, it would be different. But this is going to be Sting versus Triple H.
I don't...
No one wants to see that.
The fans think they want it. They don't want it.
They don't want it.
Next, we got Darren Young teamed up with a jobber, seriously, and I'm not exaggerating, so meaningless they didn't even announce his name before the Ascension's music started playing.
Okay, hold on. I love Darren Young. I think he's great. Well, great is not the word. I think he's really good. I really like him. But the Ascension is the ones who need the push here.
Well, and they'll get the push, but what you saw was not a match. What you saw was basically the Ascension beating them down, and then Titus O'Neil came out and saved Darren Young, and we saw the greatest thing I've seen in months, and that's the reunion of the primetime players.
Oh yeah, and I was excited. I liked it. Just
millions of dollars.
I just didn't want that during the Ascension because they've already been fucking it up so bad. It's not even.
I can understand your argument there, but
point, fine. But they've been fucking up so badly, and if this was leading to
I feel like feud, what you should have done in this show is switched New Day and Ascension.
Yes.
Have New Day take this spot, where they're. The problem is that then it'd be face versus face.
Right.
So you got. I mean, it's difficult with the tag team division as thin as it is.
Right. Well,
that's another big part of the problem is that the tag team division is so thin. It's almost like, okay, who else do I put in that spot?
It's not even that. It's not even that the tag team division is exactly thin. It's just that they don't want certain people facing others, and that makes it very difficult. They want certain people facing other people, like they had Miz and Sandow facing Usos forever, and then they had New Day facing who knows what, and no one really gets it. Like, what is New Day? Is it supposed to be some ministry, happy ministry type thing?
They clap and jive talk.
That's...
They're everything Vince McMahon thinks black people are.
Black History Month people.
Black History Month, everybody. The next thing I wanted to talk about, we had Wade Barrett versus Damian Sandow, and I know I said I liked the Miz's shtick last week. I don't like it anymore.
Right.
It's just taking away from the match, and I'm not enjoying it anymore.
Right. Well, the thing I said was I think it would have been fine, like, not that as often as they were doing it in that match. Like if it was once or twice and it was distracting him at vital moments. No, it kind of interrupted the flow of the match, and I guess they haven't been really having the normal kind of matches recently. But the thing is, though, that the fans were not getting into it. At first they were boo and whatnot, but then they're like, okay, I'm kind of lost at this point. I'm like, I guess I hate The Miz, but I just want to watch the wrestling.
And you can tell that they have waited way too long to pull the trigger here. Because the response and the reaction to the whole thing is really dying down. If they don't pull it soon, no one's going to give a shit.
Right, they need to do it at Fastlane, or if they're going to wait until WrestleMania, which I do not suggest, they need something big.
And the big thing I wanted to talk about out of this segment was not Miz and Sandow. It was the fact that Dean Ambrose came down, zip-tied Wade Barrett's hands around the ring post, and forcibly made him sign the contract. Now, this wouldn't be so bad, except the announcers themselves are sitting there, that's not legally binding, is it? And at home I'm going, no, you're right, it's not. That would never hold up in court, and none of this counts. Thank you.
You're right. I hate that the announcers stop poking holes. You're supposed to be selling the.
You're supposed to be selling the plot, not poking holes in it.
Okay, and let's just talk about the announcer because it's always a problem. It's always a problem, and that's a problem that it's always a problem. The fact that the announcer team right now sucks. I'm like, JBL could be good if he didn't seem to be drunk all the time.
Yeah, he's taking shots on the side of the desk, I guarantee it.
And Michael Cole does not sell anything. He can talk all he wants about this or that, but he doesn't convince me at all.
No, he doesn't connect with the audience. He's a pitch man. He's Billy Mays, and it's not working.
Right, and Booker T.
Booker T is awful.
Fine, good wrestler.
Shucky ducky quack quack Mario.
The worst commentator I have heard in a long time. And
299%.
That's including people in the TNA commentary table, which they switched out. And I'm like,
worse than Mike Tenay.
Yeah, because at least Mike Tenay was talking about matches. Booker T doesn't talk about anything. He does not. And right now, TNA, I just want to say, Josh Matthews and Taz. How funny is that?
Oh.
And it's not so much. I like Taz. I like Josh Matthews. That is the least motivating.
Yeah, let's not spend a ton of time talking about TNA.
Yeah, already too much.
It'll just depress me.
Yeah.
Next we got the USO #1 and the Talented Funkadactyl.
Yes.
Versus Tyson Kidd and Natalya.
That wasn't a bad match.
No, this was a fun mixed tag match. You had Tyson constantly tagging out and being a douchebag and making Natty fight for him. And after the match, she loses. And Tyson spent the whole time just blaming her. He's like, "Oh, you lost. What do you?" And it was really good and a really good development of his douchebag character that they're giving him.
I love Cesaro because he's not even in the match. He's just kind of standing off in the corner. And when Natalya's like, "What are you doing? Why'd you lose it for us?"
Just being Cesaro.
Yeah.
Let's see. And the next thing we get is the main event. I wanted to talk about Daniel Bryan versus The Big Show.
We have to.
They surprised me here. I know you didn't like it.
I was kind of bored, to be honest.
I know you didn't like it. I actually enjoyed it. I feel like Daniel Bryan put this together, and I feel like he used Big Show the best he could. It was Daniel Bryan basically wrestling himself.
Right, but that's my problem though. And
but I'd watch that all day.
Yeah, but it wasn't Daniel Bryan that was kind of boring me. It was Big Show.
Big Show's gonna bore you, but my point is I feel like he looked better here and used his size better here than I've seen him do in a long time.
Right, well, and the biggest problem to me is, again, referring back, because we said it would come back, referring back to the yes chance that was distracting Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, obviously being 13, thought he would distract Daniel Bryan by bothering the fans and, signing their shit. And all I'm thinking while I'm watching it is, Daniel Bryan's head's like, what? Why can't I take my eyes off this? Why is this so distracting? This shouldn't be bothering me.
Why do I keep staring at Roman Reigns? All he's doing is signing T-shirts.
I'm like, wow, this is weird, and it just.
And what made the match is not the match, because the match itself was mediocre, not mediocre, but it was all right. Big Show's slow and hard to watch. That's gonna be the bottom line for every Big Show match until he retires, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think the best word for it is the match was useful.
Yeah, it was useful to set up the big brawl between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, which they did one of the most convincing pull-apart brawls I've seen in years, since probably Triple H and Shawn Michaels did it back in the day.
Right.
I believed these two men wanted each other dead.
Which was surprising.
And they kept calming down and then fighting and brawling all around the place, and it was a really exciting, hot ending to sell Fastlane, and I heard a lot of people I saw on Twitter and things like that were giving it a lot of praise, and I wanted to too, because it was a very well done pull apart brawl at the end.
Well, and that's the thing WWE has had a problem with, especially Raw, is the ending. Because forever, it's either like the Authority coming out and making some change.
Some bullshit Authority
There was
crap.
a lack of authority, which I love.
Yes. I was going to talk about that, actually. I've noticed that the less authority we see, the more I enjoy the show.
Right.
The more they put the impetus on Seth Rollins, the more they make him the centerpiece of the whole thing and leave Stephanie and Triple H to do their own thing.
Right,
and to
right.
maybe not even do a thing, in
Okay.
Stephanie's case. The more they do that, the more positive ratings I tend to give the show.
Right. Well, and you're kind of giving Stephanie props on her heelishness.
A little bit, but it's worth nothing if you're never going to get your comeuppance, which she's not.
Right. Well, and the thing is, I want to say is that I'm happy that she did not appear basically through the whole episode. But my problem with Stephanie is at the end of the day, she is not selling everyone else. She is selling herself. She is there to be like, oh, I'm Stephanie. I'm such a big heel and whatnot. She's not there saying how much this person is a good guy or how much you should cheer this person. It's always about, oh, how much I'm a bad person.
And there's one thing that I point out, and people laugh at me because I constantly point this out about Stephanie McMahon, that drives me absolutely batshit. When she's standing next to people like Daniel Bryan or like John Cena, who aren't necessarily all that tall, she'll still wear high heels. She will make herself taller than them, which is ridiculous when you consider the fact that Vince McMahon used to dig holes and get step ladders for Andre to stand on and stand in holes so that Andre would look that much bigger next to him.
Well, I think that's what pisses me off about Stephanie. She's not there to sell the product.
No,
like I
she's
said,
she's
there
there to
sell
make herself look good.
And that doesn't make any sense to me. Stop doing that.
And I think you've seen them pull her back now, because I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we saw any of her.
No,
last night.
Not that I know of. That I noticed anyway.
And I very much enjoyed that.
Right.
I very much enjoyed that part of Raw, the no Stephanie McMahon
yes,
having
that
part
was a
of
very
Raw.
good. There was very good no Stephanie McMahon.
There was very good no Stephanie McMahon.
Okay, there's something we have to talk about real quick, and it's a comment. And usually we wouldn't focus too much on the commentary because it's usually something stupid. It's the same shit every time. There was a comment that was made. Who made the comment? Was it was JBL, right? Who made the comment about Jack and the Beanstalk during the Daniel Bryan?
During Daniel Bryan and Big Show, they JBL said, "This is like Jack and the Beanstalk if the Beanstalk fought back," completely ignoring the fact that in that fairy tale, at the top of the Beanstalk, is a giant that you could very easily compare Big Show to.
Hell, Big Show's name in WCW was the fucking Giant.
They'll call him the Giant. I don't know. This is proof to me that JBL is drunk, because I think sober JBL would have understood. Drunk JBL just goes, oh, fuck it, I'll compare him to the Beanstalk.
The Beanstalk. It's not even like Daniel Bryan was climbing Big Show or anything. It's not even like that was a thing. He was fighting it. It was...
So, as always, the final message of the show is that the announce team is terrible.
The announce team will always be terrible until something is done. It is the worst it's been in a long time. Honestly, I'm like, there was a point where it was really bad, but adding Booker T to the Raw commentator table...
It was like pouring shit on top of poop.
Yeah. That's, shit, more violent poop. It's just... But it was just, that is probably the worst. If they could just fix the commentary table, I think that Raw would, like, skyrocket.
It would help leaps and bounds, it really would. All right, well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another edition of Did Raw Suck This Week, the podcast. Yep. I'm Dale, this is Clark V. Tatum, and as always, remember, it's just a show. Have fun with it. Have a good day.